Hey everyone, I'm Raven. Today we'll be diving into the case known as the Menendez brothers murders. But before we jump in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. The story of Lyle and Erik Menendez, two privileged brothers from Beverly Hills, California, is one of the most chilling family tragedies in American criminal history. What started as the brutal murder of their wealthy parents in 1989 soon became a sensational trial filled with dark family secrets, claims of abuse, and ultimately an unbelievable twist of betrayal. The Menendez family, behind the facade of perfection. Jose and Kitty Menendez were the picture of success. Jose Menendez, a Cuban immigrant, had worked his way up from nothing to become a successful Hollywood executive. He was a powerful figure in the entertainment industry, known for his ambition and iron will. Kitty, his wife, was a former beauty queen turned stay-at-home mother who lived in the shadow of her husband's success. Their two sons, Lyle and Erik, lived what seemed to be a life of privilege and luxury. They grew up in the affluent neighborhood of Beverly Hills, attended the best schools, and had access to all the comforts money could buy. Yet behind the glamorous exterior, the Menendez family was far from perfect. Jose was an authoritarian father who controlled every aspect of his sons' lives. He was demanding, harsh, and expected nothing less than excellence. Kitty, meanwhile, struggled with her own demons, including depression and substance abuse. She was emotionally distant, leaving her sons to cope with their father's overbearing presence on their own. The night of the murders. On the evening of August 20th, 1989, the Menendez family was in their lavish Beverly Hills mansion. Jose and Kitty were relaxing in the living room, unaware of the horrifying events about to unfold. Lyle and Erik, who had been carefully plotting their next move, entered the room carrying shotguns. Without warning, they opened fire on their parents. Jose Menendez, still seated on the couch, was shot in the back of the head, killing him instantly. Kitty, who tried to flee, was chased down and shot multiple times. The crime scene was a bloodbath, with over a dozen shots fired. The brothers, covered in their parents' blood, fled the house, only to return later, pretending to discover the bodies. Lyle made the infamous 911 call, sobbing, "Somebody killed my parents." The police arrived to find Jose and Kitty Menendez dead, but with no signs of forced entry or robbery. The wealthy neighborhood had never seen such a brutal crime, and the police initially had no reason to suspect the two grieving sons.
Beverly Hills emergency.
Yes, police.
What's the problem? What's the problem? What's the problem?
Someone killed my parents.
Pardon me?
Someone killed my parents.
What? Who? Are they still there?
Yes.
The people...
No.
Were they shot?
Hey, man,
Were they shot?
Yes.
They were shot?
Yes.
102 response, 722 North Elmore.
What happened? Hey, stand up,
I have a hysterical person on. We're trying to get things further. Other units responding. Is the person still there?
What happened? We have units around. What happened? Who shot who? I don't hear anything. I just came home. You came home and found who shot? Mom and Dad.
You know if they're still in the house, the people that did the shooting.
Get away from him. Okay, hang on. Let me talk to Erik. Who is the person that was shot? My mom and my dad. Your mom and dad? My mom and my dad. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, we're on our way over there with the ambulance. Okay, I gotta go. Okay.
Oh.
Hello, this is police department.
Yes.
Okay, I want you to come outside. Okay, just come out the front door and
never my brother.
The aftermath and suspicion. In the weeks following the murders, Lyle and Erik Menendez did not behave like morning sons. Instead, they embarked on a wild spending spree, using their parents' fortune to buy expensive cars, luxury watches, and even real estate. Lyle bought a Porsche, while Erik hired a private tennis coach in hopes of turning professional. Their sudden and excessive spending raised eyebrows, especially since the brothers seemed unusually unfazed by their parents' deaths. The police began to suspect that the Menendez brothers might have had something to do with the murders. Their story didn't add up, and their lavish lifestyle immediately following the crime was seen as a red flag. But the most damning evidence came from an unexpected source: Erik's therapist. The confession: Erik, struggling to cope with the guilt of what he had done, confessed to his therapist, Dr. Jerome Oziel, that he and Lyle had killed their parents. The confession was recorded, and the therapist, despite concerns over breaking patient confidentiality, eventually reported it to the police. With this new evidence, both Lyle and Erik Menendez were arrested in March 1990. The public was shocked. How could two privileged young men commit such a heinous crime against their own parents? The case quickly garnered national attention, with the media dubbing it the Beverly Hills murders. Yet the story was far from over, and the brothers were about to present a defense that would shock the world even more. The shocking defense: claims of abuse. When the trial began in 1993, the Menendez brothers did not deny killing their parents. Instead, they claimed that the murders were an act of self-defense after years of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse by their father, Jose Menendez. The brothers painted a horrifying picture of a household dominated by their father's cruelty. According to their testimony, Jose Menendez had sexually abused both Lyle and Erik from a very young age. The brothers described how their father had manipulated and terrorized them, using his power and wealth to control every aspect of their lives. Their mother, Kitty, they said, was complicit in the abuse. Although she did not actively participate, she knew what was happening and turned a blind eye. Kitty was portrayed as an emotionally unstable woman who was often abusive herself, though not to the same extent as Jose. The defense argued that the Menendez brothers had lived in constant fear of their father and had reached a breaking point. On the night of the murders, they claimed they believed that their parents were going to kill them to prevent the abuse from being exposed. The killings, they argued, were not premeditated, but rather a desperate act of survival. Media frenzy and divided opinions. The trial became a media spectacle, broadcast live on television, with the public tuning in daily to hear the lurid details of the Menendez family's private life. The image of Lyle and Erik as cold-blooded killers began to shift as they tearfully recounted the horrors of their childhood. Some people sympathized with the brothers, believing that they had suffered unimaginable abuse. Others saw their defense as a manipulative ploy to avoid the consequences of their actions. The case raised serious questions about child abuse, family dynamics, and the justice system. Could years of abuse justify murder? Were the brothers truly acting out of fear, or were they motivated by greed and the promise of a multi-million-dollar inheritance? Verdict and sentencing. The first trial ended in a hung jury, with some jurors convinced that the brothers had been victims of abuse, while others believed they were simply calculating murderers. In 1996, during the second trial, the prosecution focused on the brothers' greed and their extravagant spending in the aftermath of the murders. The defense's claims of abuse were still presented, but the jury was not swayed. Lyle and Erik Menendez were found guilty of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder. They were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The verdict was a relief to some, but the trial left many unanswered questions. To this day, there are those who believe that the Menendez brothers were victims of a tragic cycle of abuse, while others see them as cold-blooded killers who murdered their parents for money. The legacy of the Menendez brothers. Lyle and Erik Menendez remain in prison to this day, serving out their life sentences in separate facilities. Over the years, their case has been revisited in documentaries, books, and even TV series. The Menendez brothers' story continues to captivate the public, not only because of the brutality of the crime, but also because of the complex family dynamics at play. In prison, both brothers have married, and they maintain contact with one another through letters. Despite the horror of their actions, they have garnered a surprising amount of public sympathy over the years, particularly from those who believe their claims of abuse. The Menendez case remains one of the most infamous examples of familial violence in American history, a tragic reminder that even in the most outwardly perfect families, darkness can lurk just beneath the surface. Remember, behind every story lies a deeper humanity waiting to be uncovered. The tragic event we shared with you today is not just an echo of the past, but also a warning for the future. Until we meet again in our next video, take care of yourselves and your loved ones. Goodbye.